So we're going to look today at the third of our yoga poses for runs. And this particular one is called Downward Dog, or Ardha Mukha Shavasana in official yoga terms. And it combines stretching two important muscles, which is the calf and the hamstrings. Now let's just look at that in a little bit of detail, because that's important. When you're in a running position, you move forwards in this way. And so I'm stretching the hamstring muscles, or contracting the hamstring muscles, and stretching the calf muscle. But there are two calf muscles. One is called gastrocnemius, and it stretches over the knee and over the ankle. And the other is called soleus, and it just stretches over the ankle. So in this particular position, I'm stretching my gastrocnemius. Okay, as I then run, as I come forwards and I swing my leg forwards, I'm stretching my hamstrings. And then as I place my heel down, my hamstrings have to contract rapidly and sort of snatch to stop my heel from sliding forwards, and then as I go forwards, the hamstrings start again. So running is a sort of a combination of stretching and contracting muscles rapidly. So once I'm in this position, as I travel forwards, which muscle pushes me forwards? It's the gastrocnemius. So we've got this long calf muscle with a strange name, and we've got the hamstring muscles that we're going to address. And we would need to strengthen them, we would need to stretch them, work them for power, work them for speed, etc., etc. But in this particular yoga pose, what we're going to do is combine a stretch of the gastrocnemius with the hamstrings and the sole of the foot. And the whole of this structure, which comes from the sole of the foot all the way up, all the way through the trunk and round into the shoulder and arm, we call the posterior chain. And the posterior chain, if you like, are the structures at the back of the body. So what we're doing in this pose is lengthening the whole thing. So with a single exercise, we are putting a stretch on the sole of the foot, the calf muscles, the hamstring, the backside muscles, and through the spine into the arms and into the shoulders. And we're modifying this pose that we often end up in, where we're reaching forward, slump forwards, because in the downward dog we're going to reach our arms overhead as we stretch into this position. So let's have a look, let's get down onto the yoga mat. We'll start off by looking at the full pose, and then we'll split the pose up into various different components to make it easier. So we're down on our yoga mat, and the pose itself is probably better, when you do the full pose, probably better done on a yoga mat, because a yoga mat gives you support, but it's quite thin, only about 1/8 of an inch thick, and it doesn't slip. So that action of not slipping, you'll see in a second, is important. All right, so let me go through the full pose, and then once I'm in the full pose, we'll split it up into its individual components. So I'm starting with my fingers spread and my hands wide, on my little finger on the side of the mat. I'm then coming up, and to start with, as it's the first pose that I'm doing, I'm taking my feet wide as well. And then I'm pressing, getting my hips as high as I can, coming right up, and I'm sinking down with my chest. So I'm opening my shoulders. When I get into that position, you'll notice my heels are high. What I then do is lower my heels down. And there we have our full downward dog pose. Okay, so you saw that we can split that up in various ways. So it may be that you're quite tight around the shoulders, and if you're tight around the shoulders, what we can do is just to start working on that. So we can start from a kneeling position, hands spread out, and all I'm going to do is look forward along the mat, and I'm trying to press my breastbone down in this action. So if you think about it, what I'm doing is to open my shoulders, and in the final position, I can just relax my head down. And I can stay in that position, trying to move from that rounded action to
pressing the breastbone down, pressing the breastbone down. And if you find that that is a little bit uncomfortable, let's spin round onto the back, knees bent, and all I'm doing is reaching overhead. Now you may find that you get into that position and it's very, very tight, but eventually we're going to stretch over so that the arms can rest onto the ground. And it doesn't matter if this takes you a few weeks to get here, it's a work in progress. We're just trying to open the chest up a little bit, and then we can progress this a little further. So fingers are spread, I've opened my chest up and I've got my kneeling pose. So what I'm now doing is pressing with my arms, and I'm going to just relax my knees a little bit and focus on the top of the body. So I'm forgetting about the bottom of the body and I'm pressing up, trying to have an action of opening the chest and looking forwards. In the last position I relax down. So all I'm doing now is trying to work on that upper body. We can modify this a little bit further if you find that you're slipping, if you find it difficult with the arms, by using yoga. So I've got 2 yoga bricks here, and these are solid wood covered in cork, but you can get them in various different sorts of rubber and plastic. And what we do is we pop these against on the yoga mat so it's not going to slip. Now if you don't have a yoga mat, then you would do this up against the wall. We'll have a look at that in a second. And what I'm doing is I'm pressing the heel of the hand, so I've got the edge of the hand on the edge of the block so that I'm not going to slide. And all I do now is keep my fingers wide, thumb and little finger on the side of the block so I don't slip sideways, heel of the hand on the back of the block so I don't slip forwards and back. And I'm pressing up, so feet are wide again, knees are bent, and I really can push now because that block just gives me something to focus my attention on. I'm pressing, pressing, pressing. And then once I've got that height up with my shoulders, I can lift my hips high onto my tiptoes, and then I'm pressing my heels down. Now of course if you can't press your heels down, then you can use your yoga blocks to put on your heels. So if I swap round, hands at the front, and all I do is I come up into my pose, coming high, dropping the chest down, and the heels stay onto blocks. And that makes it a little bit easier because I've taken some of the stress away from the calf. And I can press now with my feet, if I sort of my heels onto the blocks, I can actually lift my toes up. And that really pushes the knee back and locks out to focus the stretch on the hamstrings. Alright, so if we take the whole thing now, and we can just turn it round. Turn it round onto the wall, and we can use the blocks again, but I was using the blocks this way around to stop them stretching. I can use the blocks this way around. So if I put the block here, then now, rather than just having my heels on the block, I can put the whole of the foot on the block. The heel is now against the wall. And that gives me an even greater purchase, and I can really get my hips up high, focusing on my chest, and then less stretch on the calf. When I want to put more stretch on, I put my feet on the floor, heels on the block, into that position. And then finally, when I want to focus on my heels, I'm up against the wall so that the heels just touch the wall, and I'm now pressing into the full pose. So that's our downward dog pose, combining a stretch in the calf muscle through the sole of the foot up into the hamstrings. We can split it up into a variety of different movements. Key points then: we focused on the upper body by bending the knees and lifting up onto the heels. And then we focused on the lower body by splitting up between pushing that heel down to stretch the calf muscle or pushing the knee back to stretch the hamstrings. And in order to get the hamstring stretch, we want to get those hips up high. Great stuff. So have a go at that. Do so slowly, work into it slowly. you know, do a little bit of a walk beforehand, so that a speed walk beforehand, so that you're warmed up, and work into it slowly. So downward dog, useful for stretching for runners. Okay, thanks for watching.